Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome to my channel, Bro Gets Rich, where I invest in real estate, stocks, and crypto, specifically Bitcoin. And today, I'm going to talk about buying 100 shares of IBIT in my Robinhood portfolio. I have been buying Bitcoin since about 2019, and lately I've been stacking it a little bit differently for different reasons. And so I'm on a mission right now to get 100 shares of IBIT, and I'm going to share with you in this video why that is and what my long-term plan is for building this position. A lot of Bitcoin maxis do not like the ETFs. Everybody is about self-custody, but even people, like Michael Saylor or CZ from Binance, see value in holding some on their exchanges or in ETFs or things like MicroStrategy. So make sure to like and subscribe. And also, none of this is investment advice. This is just for entertainment. Let's get into my IBIT position. All right, so in this portfolio, I have 32 shares of IBIT, market value of just over $1,800 when I shot this video. And I am up 3.64% on this position in total, but this is the newest position of Bitcoin I have. I have not been buying Bitcoin any other place. I have been buying about $125 a week of IBIT for maybe like the past few months. Although in full disclosure, this is not the first ETF I bought. So my main Bitcoin ETF position is in FBTC. And I did add a few hundred shares of FBTC closely after the ETF launched. You can see when it's launched, it started at about $38. I think I bought most of mine between the $38 and $60 mark. I'm sitting somewhere around just under like 300 shares, if I remember, and I am up quite a bit on that position. But I wanted to diversify my Bitcoin position amongst multiple ETFs and amongst multiple portfolios just to kind of safeguard myself. And I want to hold a multitude of Bitcoin in different portfolios, different ETFs, different cold storage, etc. Big Bitcoin believer, and I believe it is my number 2 holding outside of my real estate portfolio. So I do have quite a bit of Bitcoin. And so let's get into my main thesis for kind of starting this position and why I want 100 shares of IBIT. Specifically, why I want 100 shares of IBIT is because of this right here. This is the options chain on IBIT. These are the premiums I took this screenshot on Monday, so this would have been a weekly covered call. So you could have made $128 by selling a contract just barely out of the money. And I am not looking to sell options contracts right now. All right, so this is a tweet from Bitcoin Magazine. This is ARK Invest's confirming that Bitcoin is on pace to meet its 2030 price targets. And so these are their price targets. Their bear case is 300K. Their base case is just over $700,000. And their bull case is $1.5 million by 2030. Okay, so obviously that is a pretty wide range to go from, but even if the bear case, which I think at this point honestly is pretty bearish, of 300,000, like it's 2025, that's still 20% a year. From a traditional investment standpoint, that is not bad. But the interesting part to me is if you think about Bitcoin, right, and you think about the barrier to entry in Bitcoin, right? So the ETFs were made to provide an easier, frictionless barrier to entry for consumers, right? You don't have to go on a Coinbase and buy Bitcoin and send it to a hardware wallet. They take care of all your custody. It's liquid. So one of the reasons I wanted IBIT, right, and I'm sure FBTC will have options chains in the future. But I really wanted to secure 100 shares of IBIT because when I talk to people about Bitcoin, one of the biggest things, and this is years ago too, like even when Bitcoin was 20 grand, like people feel like they can never own a whole one. Oh, a whole Bitcoin's 20 grand. Oh, a whole Bitcoin's 30 grand. It's 40 grand, 50 grand. Well, now it's 100 grand, right? So owning a whole Bitcoin is very out of touch and very out of reach for most people, right? Like most people, even if they wanted to, if you're just an average person, like you don't have that much money to invest, and nor do you have the conviction to drop 100K in Bitcoin all at once, right? Understandable. So 100 shares of IBIT, right now, share price when I took the screenshot was $57.80. So right, $5,780 to own 100 shares of IBIT, right? And I don't think there are many average consumers or investors buying hundreds of shares of IBIT at once, right? But if you look at this, 100 shares of IBIT, if you're basing this off of this ARK Invest model, bear case, 100 shares of IBIT will be worth just over $17,000 in 2030. Base case, $40,460 in 2030. And the bull case is it could be worth $86,700 in 2030, right? So just as one Bitcoin feels out of reach for your average investor, by 2030, owning 100 shares of IBIT or FBTC, right, will be once again out of reach for your average consumer. And also in this bull case, this is a 15x from this current share price. And the demand for options on IBIT is only going to go up. And these premiums are only going to go up. And I plan on, there's a certain amount of my Bitcoin, right, that I'm just going to hold to the end. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying I'm never going to sell it, but like, it's like a 24, like I will reassess in 2040. Like there's a certain part of it that I am willing to just sit on and, we're just going to see what happens. But there's other things, right? Like my FBTC position in Fidelity, or my 100 shares of IBIT that I'm going to purchase in this Robinhood account, right? Because this could be one of the first positions, or my first position of Bitcoin that I ever take profits in, right? Because in 2030, if I have $86,700 and Bitcoin's feeling a little toppy, right? I don't know. Maybe I can write a weekly covered call on this IBIT and make $500 to $1,000 of premium. I don't know. We're going to have to see. I'm willing to bet that will be the case, right? And generate some good passive income on it until I get called out of my position and take some profits. And that is why I am building this position of 100 shares of IBIT. Because even in the base case in 2030, any of your friends you talk to who want to buy Bitcoin or do this, like no one's going to either buy 100 shares or have 100 shares of IBIT. And what I do when I get called out of this position eventually, if this plays out perfectly, right, and I do get called out of a $90,000 IBIT position and I was able to, rake up $5,000 of premium before I get called out, I don't know. We're going to have to see what happens to the stability of Bitcoin by then. Is it still super volatile? Has it stabilized out a little bit? Do I want to try and wheel this? I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see. I don't like trying to sell the wheel on, really volatile assets like Bitcoin or Tesla or something. It can just be pretty painful if you get assigned on the way down when we're in a big dip. Like that just kind of sucks. And then you can also miss a lot of upside too. So we're just going to have to wait and see. And then also on top of this ARK Invest chart, we have this. This is, just a little bullish hopium for all my Bitcoiners out there, right? And even if you're new to Bitcoin, this is a really good graphic as to why you would want to hold Bitcoin, or why people call Bitcoin such a long-term store of value. That is really kind of like the narrative on Bitcoin now. It's not like it's going to be money or anything like that. It's that it is a store of value. So these are medium new American home prices in Bitcoin throughout Bitcoin's inception. So you can see when Bitcoin launched, it would have cost you over 700,000 Bitcoin to buy a house. It gradually goes down, right? In 2015, it was only 901 Bitcoin. By 2019, it was only 84 Bitcoin. In 2021, it cost you 10 Bitcoin for a medium new home in America. And now if we get to 2025, it only costs you 4 Bitcoin to buy a median home in America. And so when we're presented with this data, I mean, it's pretty hard to argue that a new home will cost less in Bitcoin terms than dollar terms. There are bullish Bitcoin investors out there who are pretty smart, who think you will be able to buy a pretty badass house for just 0.1 Bitcoin someday. So, like I said, I'm not one to part with my Bitcoin, but if I can buy a fat crib someday for 0.1 Bitcoin, I might have to send a bank 0.1 Bitcoin to own a home outright. And based on this data, we're probably a little ways away, but that might be very well possible someday. And that is a risk I am willing to take, not financial advice at all. But yeah, that is how I am buying Bitcoin right now. I am just going to pretty much strictly buy, unless like we had that dip. We had that crazy dip last weekend. It was like largest liquidation event in history or whatever. Like, yeah, I got on, it was like Sunday or something, right? And I did buy a few $100, spot, because I can't get in my Robinhood app during the week, right? But like in terms of weekly average buys, like that's what I'm doing right now. I'm buying $25 a day, or maybe a little bit more depending on the market, of IBIT until I get to 100 shares. And then I will see where the market's at. Maybe I'll take a little break from buying Bitcoin. I always say that, and then I always end up coming back to buy more Bitcoin eventually. That's just the way it works. That's a life of a Bitcoiner. But to be completely fair, right, like I do have a lot of my net worth tied up in Bitcoin. I do think that it is an important milestone to get to this 100 shares before, this right here, this becomes a thing, right? I want to get to my 100 shares before it becomes $17,000 or $40,000 to do so. And then I want to hold them till 2030. But like I said, I am trying to put more money into, honestly, just like pretty conservative, like ETFs, like QQQ and stuff like that right now, because I am, my real estate's just doing its thing. I have a lot of Bitcoin. I have a couple more goals to reach on that before I kind of just kick back and watch the market. But yeah, really just trying to buy some more passive income stocks, some ETFs, some stuff like that. So that is where I am at. Make sure to like and subscribe. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are on Bitcoin or how you like to buy Bitcoin. I am Bro Gets Rich. I will catch you in the next one where I will be going over some passive income and some options trading. So peace out.